entirely sure. So, this is Kimber on Kimber's first podcast. I'm Kimberly, and I'm here with Kimber, and we were just having a conversation about pathogens, candida, parasites, and bacteria.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you. I'm Kimber. That's funny how it comes out. We were just talking about...
Real quick, this is Kimberly here. I thought I'd set the scene for this podcast, where we were filming it and why we did this in the car. We were driving along Highway 1 in California on the Pacific Coast, and we were going to get spring water and having an awesome conversation. And many times Kimber and I have been talking and said we would love to film this and have this be a podcast to share. So we invite you to our conversation here and what we were talking about. The video that is in this recording is on our way home, and during sunset, the beautiful views of the One. So enjoy, and thanks for joining us.
We were just talking about, especially around everybody having to kind of choose their own path in this, and how there isn't one answer, and there has to be like more discernment, and like it's kind of scary to think that you have to, like, you are the one with all of the answers, and like nobody else has those answers for you. I think you and I had talked about this a long time ago about like, how do you give people advice? And the like advice giving feels like it's like changed so much away from maybe what me and you used to like be used to, like looking up answers and doing our research and reading papers and looking at different videos and seeing what worked for everybody else and like trying on those things. But I think I lacked in those like times the awareness that like it has to come through me, and I was really hopeful that like somebody else would know. And right now I'm kind of processing like that aloneness experience, and that I have to figure it out, like it's all me and it will all like come through me, and that just looks a lot different than it's ever looked before. Like it's not even about watching all these videos and coming up with all the answers. It's like, I don't know, even what like synchronistically shows up in a conversation with a friend, or like it more like feels like it shows up in different ways than like actively seeking the answer in like more of a mental space.
Yeah. We were one of the things that I bring up a lot is that I, for a long time, was searching for the magic pill, and I was looking for something outside of myself to heal me. I was, in this culture of we go to the doctor and the doctor knows the answers and they give us a pill. I mean, this is literally like programmed into us through cartoons, like from the time we were kids, to, like, especially like we're in our 30s, and like our grandparents, regeneration really was programmed into like, you go to the doctor and the doctor has the answers. I think that started to break away a little bit like in our parents' generation, and then our generation, and really looking at that and testing that and saying like, wait a minute, like they're literally not giving us the answers. Like I'm having to find something completely different. And in this is so many different things that come with that. But tapping into what our body is actually feeling when we do anything, when we're in an activity, a certain environment, when we're eating certain foods in certain weather conditions, when we're taking certain supplements and tinctures and all the beautiful things, really like seeing like, how do we feel about this? Because there's so much out there constantly, like on social media, on our emails, everything. It's constantly pushing something for us to try in somebody's story. And this is great and wonderful because we have all these resources out there, and we have all these, we can gear ourselves towards the information that feels right to us, so we can start to look at the people that we resonate with, you know, the things that feel like they're just right, like there's some kind of understanding or it just clicks with us, so we can gear ourselves towards those people. But sifting through all of this information and like the decision paralysis that's involved in all of that, and you know, which direction do I go, can be extremely overwhelming. So we were talking a lot about like tapping into like your intuition with that, and like how you're feeling around those things.
I feel like called to talk about how discouraged I've felt in this space around finding my own discernment and like what the fuck that is. And I think even as like you're talking about this, I'm like, how do I, like, what advice could you give to somebody and like how to find their own discernment or like tap into like what is a yes or a no for them? And I find like within myself I really struggle with that, because I've had a lot of things that I've tried that I was like, okay, I'm feeling like my body's saying yes to this, and then it didn't work, and I like was often discouraged by that. Like, I don't have discernment, I don't know myself, like I'm like, and it like lead me back to seeking these like answers outside of myself again. And I still like a hopelessness feeling or a helplessness feeling, and like coming back to be like, oh fuck, like, you know, even doing these other things that other people are saying wasn't working. So what I was thinking wasn't working, what other people were saying wasn't working. And I think it's like right now I'm still in this journey of like trying to figure out, how do I have discernment, and like what does that mean, what does that look like? Maybe there isn't an exact like right or wrong, and maybe it worked for that day, and it's that's only in that yeah. And then I didn't need it after that or something. But it's like hella humbling. So, and very, I think can just be kind of discouraging, and I can get often discouraged in this like journey to try to figure out those things of what discernment is and how to connect to yourself and how to try things out, and like kind of what felt like fail but maybe isn't failing. It's just like trying and continuing to try and continuing to seek back in and go into stillness. For me, that works the best, is being in stillness for some part of the day, but or just like 10 minutes. And then
like meditation.
Yeah.
You're just finding like a moment for you without like outside in like stimulation, to just like sit with yourself and how your body feels and your mind.
Yeah, and like coming back into me, like no phone, which can be the hardest thing, and like no outside stimulation, literally just sitting there, and like there really are no other rules other than that. Like, I'm not trying to clear my mind of any thoughts, because that never fucking works for me. I'm not staring at a candle. Like, it's literally just sitting there, being there with me. And a lot, like, if thoughts come up, like, whatever, that's just what it is. And, like, not trying to control that or, like, shame myself around that either.
So in these moments of stillness, you're able to kind of tune into what is and what isn't working for you.
I think that's where a lot of these things have, like, come up. Like, it will just be a random image of something, like these vagina probiotics, for instance, for like vaginal yeast infections, and it's just, or it's either it will come up in that moment or it will come up after I've done that throughout the day. And I notice, like, my conversations with people will bring things in, like, oh, I'm dealing with this, or they'll start talking about it just kind of randomly, and like those synchronistic like moments are always good like markers for me of like, oh, this is just like coming across my path in this like unprovoked way, and like maybe there's something there to explore a little bit more. like almost like nature helping me out, like bringing the answers to me that looks a lot different than like a Google search, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and this is what, like, if you're familiar with Abraham Hicks at all, Louise Hay, they talk about, you know, when you, in these moments of stillness where we pull ourselves away from the outside world and influence, the media, other people's opinions, we can really like hear our internal voice, hear our intuition, and hear any guidance coming to us in those moments, so that we can really like see what feels right for us. And I know for me, when I allow the fear to sink in and I get into that dark and doubt and fearfulness, I end up having more trouble listening to what I'm feeling and what I'm needing, and I do seek outside. So that might be when I start to like get into that panic mode of I need to find the answer, and looking outside. And of course research is super helpful, but this is where tapping into the intuition and saying like, wait a minute, like right now I don't think it feels right to do the research. Right now I'm feeling more anxiety around doing the research, or more anxiety about whatever it is. Like, anxiety is a really awesome tool that we have, and it can get stuck on mode and just keep going for a while. But in those moments of stillness, we can start to kind of turn it down a little bit. And when we do this over time, it keeps turning the dial down more and more and more. And the anxiety is saying that something that we're doing isn't right. Anger is saying that something that we're doing isn't right. Or some situation that we're in, or a circumstance isn't working for us. So, and then when it comes to the physical body and like how we're feeling when we are trying certain things, whether it's food or supplements or exercise or movement of any kind, or even being in different social situations with different people, when we do have the anxieties come up or the anger come up, or feelings that just don't feel good to us, like that's our body giving us a really awesome signal that we're probably not going in a direction that's serving our highest self, that's serving that's bringing us to a place of calm and peace and happiness. Obviously, if we're feeling anger and fear, those aren't calm and happy things. So it's just recognizing when we feel good with something, whether it's something physically that we're consuming or good around somebody else. And so coming to different protocols and things that we can take, for different pathogens, or trying to create balance back in our system again. How do we feel when we are consuming it? And when people talk to me a lot about diets and ask, what diet am I supposed to be on? Well, let's start with the most basic thing here. Even if you're not digesting a lot of food and there isn't that much to take at the moment, what is working for you right now? Even if it's not like the most optimal digestion and you're not feeling the best no matter what it is that you eat, what are the things that are feeling the best? And make a list and say, these are my safe foods right now. This is the stuff that is feeling good right now. What are the supplements that feel good right now? Make a list of the things that you are noticing benefits to, and then you can make a list of the things that you absolutely are not feeling good with, and you can make a third list that says food possibilities or supplement possibilities. I'm unsure, or I'd like to try these things. And this can gain just a lot of clarity. Usually people come up with at least 20 different foods initially that they say, okay, I do feel really, really good with this stuff. So eat more of those foods right now. And same with like a supplement or anything like that. So I don't know what your experience is with that.
I like the coming up with a list with what's working, because I think I can often get in the space of nothing's working. And just to highlight what you're seeing there too, though, of the feeling into how things are feeling and actually a willingness to feel. And I think I found myself, like, when I am feeling anxious or something is coming up, like, I don't want to feel this way. Let me grab my phone.
Mm-hmm.
Let me avoid in some way. Let me go eat something. And it's really hard to, like, stick into, like, what am I actually feeling, and allow the body to, like, feel and kind of surrender to that in a way. And I think that that's an important piece of finding discernment, or being more in your body and using your body apparatus to help you figure out things, is like a willingness to feel. And I think I often have, I have these aversions to sitting in silence, and these aversions, because, like, typically that means, like, feeling something too. And that, like, I think does a big disservice to us when we're not willing to feel. You had said something earlier too that I wanted to talk about a little bit more, because it kind of like, ooh, that's fun to talk about. The like image of us going to the doctor, and like always like seeking these things outside of ourselves, or the ads and advertisements like coming up to show us like there is an answer, and it's, you know, not within, and like, I'm gonna tell you the top 3 things that are best for you, and it is always like outside of you, and there's like directions on it that isn't like tune into yourself and, you know, see how you're feeling for today, and if this is an alignment. Never has anything ever said that.
Yeah, directions when you go to the pharmacist and they're like, just see how you feel with this.
Right.
Like, you know, just sit with this for a little bit and like see how your body actually likes this or not.
Do a vibe check.
Do a vibe check. Prescription vibe check. Supplement vibe check.
Oh, that would be so cool. A girl can dream. Yeah, and I just like, you know, it's like, why do we always search for these answers outside of us? And it does seem like, you know, we don't want to feel, or we have an aversion to feeling, and it's hard to come up with this like discernment of what is best for us. And we're kind of taught like, you go to something else to find the answers. It's not really, my mom never told me like, why don't you sit in some silence? Like, why don't, like, just take a moment, sit with yourself and like hang out there, or, you know, go out in the world and talk to people about it, or, you know, I don't know. It's so fascinating. Like, we're kind of fed this information and imagery about like the answer is like never within, unless you go to like more like Buddhist type things, or like more spiritual things, I think maybe, and that, but sometimes not. Like, there's a lot of guru energy out there that's like, I will heal you and like, you have to go and do these things in which like other people will do.
Yeah, you must follow my thing in order for you to heal, or there's no other way. There's a lot of fear around that in itself, just like, you know, people putting out all this content and saying like, if you don't do what I did, like, you will never heal. Like, that is legitimately like things that some people say.
Wow. Yeah, and that sucks, because it's like, we start like we lose our power. We totally lose our power, and it becomes really the process of tuning into oneself and like looking at your own things that are coming through you, like, becomes way down on the list than seeking things outside of yourself, or, you know, buying all these things. Not to say that like those things won't help you, or that things outside of you, like in the physical way, like, not to say I have a yeast infection, I just need to sit in silence and then everything's gonna go away. Like, that's not
the answer either. There's a balance between things here.
Yeah, but like, more to say like, you know, seeking those answers within you about what ways do you want to address the yeast infection, or what things are showing up in your world to address the yeast infection? Maybe it's like low sugar diets if somebody's like talking about in the office or something like that, and you're like, oh, maybe that's something I want to think about for, you know, me, and like feeling into that. Not, yeah, I guess just wanting to be clear around like that it doesn't mean you can just heal your yeast infection by sitting in silence. Like, maybe there are physical things out in the world that you need to get in order to heal your yeast infection.
Yeah, the sitting is like to ruminate over which direction to go in.
Right.
So it's like, it's to take a direction. It's to create a space to decide what you would like to do.
Yeah, right. And come back to you instead of like being pulled in all of these places, or kind of more splintered, like coming back to yourself.
Calm the nervous system, calm the mind, calm the body down, allow the hormones to balance out for a minute, and then come to a decision from a place of being calm and being in parasympathetic versus being in sympathetic mode.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But I just really like the like why does that exist, like conversation, and like I never thought about the images that you talked about, like how it is like are in cartoons and stuff like that, like, or, you know, when you are sick, it's like your mom taking you to the doctor and stuff like that. It's, and even the doctor like conversation isn't often like, okay, well, so what do you think it is? You know, like, it's like, tell me your symptoms, I'm gonna diagnose you, and I'm gonna come up with like the thing that's like right for you. Like, that whole system is not like, it's not a collaborative experience.
No, and that's what so many people are seeking in their physicians now and their practitioners, is like somebody to collaborate with, somebody to like listen and then like bounce questions off of each other, not just going and like having somebody say like, this is the thing, like, here you go, bye.
Right. Yeah, why doesn't that exist as much on the planet? Maybe they're not like trained to do that. And like, I mean, of course there's the whole medical, like the economy aspects of why there's so many supplements and why they're trying to tell you, the marketing campaign is like fueled in a way that isn't inspiring you to reach into your own power.
So I've heard this a couple of times, and it's something that's stuck with me so much, is like that I wish doctors were like race car drivers, where they had to wear the people that sponsored them on their white jacket.
Yeah,
so that at least you knew, because like I literally was I was at a dermatologist one time with like a mystery rash when my rashes really started getting bad, and the doctor was like running like over 20 minutes behind because he was out in the hallway talking to a pharmaceutical rep, and came in the room, looked at my rash for a couple minutes, asked me a couple questions, and was like, well, I don't know what it is, but I just found out about this new medication, and so it's pretty new, so they don't really know a lot about it, but you want to try it? And it was like, he literally was just given the sample by this rep in the hallway.
Oh my
and
God,
like had no idea anything about it himself except for what she had told him.
Wow.
In those few minutes, and then he immediately is pushing it on me because he's getting money from that. He's getting kickback for pushing this. The whole system is set up that way in this, you know, Western American medical model.
You know, actually, it's interesting you say that, because I've been doing something different with like the doctors that I'm going and like seeing. Like I'm actually like interviewing them in a way of like, what's your relationship like with yourself? Like, do you do drugs? Like, do you drink often?
What do they say? What are their answers to that usually?
They actually answer it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and like, I mean, obviously I preface it. I'm not just like, okay, I'm like out with my notepad. Like, I preface it like I think that it's really important for me to have a collaborative experience, and like in order to feel like safe working with you, these are the things that are important for me. Like, are you okay with me asking maybe some more personal questions about your life, in hopes that this is like in alignment for me? And they are actually surprisingly like open to it.
That's awesome. That's amazing. I love that you do that.
I know, it makes me think I need to add a question in there, which I've done with my vet. Like, I've asked my vet, like, does Bravecto or this HeartGuard like give you money for doing this? Because you have things like on the wall that's like a contest that will give you 6 free HeartGuards. Like, and it's like, this has got to be weird. And she did, like, they were getting money for doing those things. But it took me asking that, not that they're like, so
just gonna tell you that.
Yeah, you need to be on taking heartworm preventative so I could get 10 extra bucks after this. But it would be so interesting to just like in those kind of interviews style to like ask them like, who are you working with? Like, who sponsors you in a way? Like, are you working with any companies or any like supplements or, you know, whatever, the medication companies that like you would get extra money from doing these things? And like, what are your incentives, like, and priorities, and how you think about solutions to whatever's going on? And just kind of calling them out for it, like, or asking them, because that would be, I don't know, kind of like changes. You know, they get to ask you, like, all these questions, like, what does your poop look like? And, like, all these very personal things that, like, not many people know. And, like, we should be able to ask them those too. And maybe that kind of sets up, like, this collaborative nature in a way that they know, like, what you're, I don't know, like, you're kind of taking back control of that experience. I do that even, like, I did that to Dr. Yen's, the acupuncturist that we both know, and I've done that to some other, like, not just, like, the person that I go to with my insurance, like, my primary care. Like, I do it with the healing practitioners that I've gone to, or, like, alternative modalities. And those, they're always really open to that. I mean, and normally they're like, of course I don't drink that much. Like, look what I do for a living. And, like, look at my body.
Well, that's funny you say that, because, like, at one time early on, I went to a GI doctor, and I was having all these issues that were just starting to come up, and I had no idea what to do. I was very unversed in any of this, and I walk into the office, and this guy is like probably about 300 pounds. And I, you know, like, this isn't a judgment on the look, but this is just saying, like, okay, something about what he's doing is maybe not in alignment with, like, the direction that I'm going with trying to heal myself. And
Right.
like, he really didn't have any answers for me. I think I only saw him once or twice, but yeah, it was just like, it's just there's a lot to that. When you're looking for something, you can see what other people are doing in their own lives, because if they're not practicing what they're preaching, or if they're not even preaching that at all, you know, they're just like trying to push something on you, then that might not be what you're looking for.
Totally. Even, like, feeling into them, like, as you, like, first meet them, like, you know, not, like, even their physical body and things like that, but you can totally just, like, feel into a person. Even looking at their picture before you, like, go and see them, like, what do they feel like in your body to, like, look at them? I actually just did this. I had a friend who was writing a letter to this woman, and she was like, can you read over this letter? And she sent over, like, a picture of this woman, and I, like,
Let's pull over here and let these people pass.
I clicked on that picture, and I was like, whoa, she is so dense feeling. And it was cool for me to, like, actually do that. It's something that I haven't always done. But it was, like, really interesting, like, just feeling into somebody from their picture.
I have been doing that a lot as well.
Have you?
Yeah. Well, some of you know that are listening that I have like an intuitive side, and so that sometimes messages come through and I'll get little clips of things when seeing pictures of people, or I'll have smells come through, or just little bits of knowledge or something like that. And so there is something like, sometimes we all do this. Like we'll look at a picture of somebody and there will just be, for whatever reason, like a yes or a no to it. Like we don't even have to know why, but there's some aversion to it, and it's just like, I don't know, and it's like we just skip over it, or we don't even really think about it much, but we just move on to the next,
Right.
And that's part of the listening to your intuition as well.
Yeah, it's like that first hit in our body is probably more right than anything, and for some reason, like, it's the hardest thing to trust. It's like, oh, let me give them a chance. Like, I'm likely wrong. Like, my body's not reading this right.
Yes.
Like, they have all these other things that they're saying that I'm intrigued by. Maybe this is like... And then, 8 months later, you're like, I was totally right. The, like, first... 1/10 of a second I met this person or looked at their picture.
Yep. Yeah, we're so disconnected from that, and we want to give people like the benefit of the doubt, but we also we have so many like societal norms that come around that stuff. But I mean, so recently in the past couple years, like I've noticed this tremendously, that okay, this just isn't working.
Yeah, something we don't, I think I often ignore and shouldn't. And I hope to do a better job in 2024 of like listening to that initial gut instinct about somebody.
We're on our way. Is that another honk?
Yeah, I think so.
So we are on our way to, we're on the Pacific Coast right now, and we're gonna go collect some spring water. So we're on Highway 1. Just north of San Francisco, and there's a place here that has natural spring water. So I posted a video recently about talking about spring water, and Kimber's been also very into spring water the past few years. It's been something, the quality of our water, that has come up many times. And you've never been to this one either, right?
I've been to this one a few times now.
You have?
Yeah.
Okay. So I've never been to this one. Kimber's been to this one, but I guess it's right off the side of the road somewhere.
Yep, it's like right here. It's right off the side of Highway 1, and it's absolutely beautiful. It just comes out of a rock. It's a little bit further.
I'll take some pictures and I'll put some video or something over this so you can see where we are. This is just gorgeous. We're literally just driving across the coast on this beautiful windy road right now.
But
look at that beach.
There, it's right here, and it just feels so like alive and beautiful to like be able to get your own living water that's not coming from. I actually just listened to the Huberman podcast about tap water, and I think it's a great podcast where it's talking about like filtering your water and things like that from the tap. But there is just also something very different around like living water that you're getting, and like the vibe or feel that you get from going and collecting your own spring water that you can see coming out of this like giant red rock.
This is literally a cliff with like 2 water spouts. One's not running. And it's just coming straight out of this cliff, and somebody's planted a garden right here with the spring water. So there's like some stuff growing in there. I'll get some video of this, but this is insane. Well, thank you so much for joining us in our conversation. We were just chatting as we were driving. I hope there's not too much background noise in this, but we've talked many times about recording our conversations and just like allowing people to listen into our thoughts. And so I was like, you know what? This is one of those conversations. We're doing it. And Kimber was like, okay, I can deal with that. So thank you so much for listening. Leave us a comment if you have any questions, or if you want to share any of your experiences with any of this. And I don't know where I'm posting this yet. I might be making a new channel that's just podcast stuff. And then I'll post like a little snippet of this on my my main channel. But thanks, Kimber, for joining me.
Thanks, Kimberly. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Bye.